Hello there and welcome to another oldie from ATP project, the Scaglietti. My name is Lynx, by the way, if you didn't know. Yeah, let's start it. Let's see what this one is about. Another short game from the dev. We are covering a lot of games from lately. Act 1, Claudia. Hi, my name is Domenico Carini. Okay, we spoke on the phone about the restoration. The information desk directed me here.
Oh, I'm really sorry. I have forgotten about our appointment.
What? It's not a problem if this is an inconvenient time.
No, not at all. My other class starts in 2 hours, so I have time.
There is no sound again.
I really feel bad about this. Any chance I can make this up by inviting you to talk over lunch? The canteen here is excellent.
I don't think I will be bothering you that long.
Then why don't we walk and you can tell me on the way?
Said the woman, making her way towards a small park. It was Claudia Ascari. She was a professor at the university specializing in painting techniques. I was sent by the Mondial Insurance Company to talk to... That is not a good font, by the way. As we have an upcoming restoration of a few old paintings, which she is going to oversee. Maybe for like a title or whatever, but not for an entire text. This was just to meet her in person, since the company wanted to have me as the direct contact with the restoration team over the following weeks. So, I would check back every now and then to make our company happy. I'll try not to be a nuisance.
Oh, feel free, Mr. Carini. I'll send you the name of the colleagues and the external experts we'll be cooperating with.
She replied, smiling, as you cannot see. We continued for a few more minutes and tried to be as brief as I could, making notes and arranging future means of communication. Even before I came here, I informed myself about her. I even read a few articles she had published in magazines. They were not the highest ranked art magazines in the country, but still, her articles were very interesting, if a bit too technical for me. The Scaglietti. To be honest, this title is so giving me the mafia vibes, to be honest. The next day, I was just able to catch the last parts of Claudia Ascari's lecture before we met outside, and I was quite amazed. For some reason, I found the way she presented everything very emotional. If it's interesting, it's the best thing. It wasn't professional fascination that I sensed, however. It was love for the art of painting. That's the best then. She reminded me of one psychology teacher who was also very passionate about what he taught. Yet he always seemed to have a clear mind, never allowing himself to get lost in details. And with psychology, this is very easy to do. Professor Ascari also had this openness about her, and while I could feel that she's extremely competent and answered every question of her students without hesitation, there was this... It's difficult to describe. I then accompanied her to the city and on the waterside, and she gave me a short report on what they still need to do in order to make the restoration successful. Under relatively strict security, the team should work on university grounds, and once their work is done, the pictures will be returned to their owners. They were all mostly privately owned, but their owners have usually agreed to exhibit them in the local galleries. So, tomorrow is the big day, I said. We're in the chapel that belongs to the grounds of the university. This is where the restorations would take place.
I'm really nervous,
Claudia said. It should be fine. You will have everything in nice order. I tried to cheer her up by saying things as facts to give her confidence.
I suppose you're right. In fact, I don't even know why I came here.
She paused. But this was normal. With a responsibility like this, I understand that one would need to reassure oneself of everything. Even when it meant coming to the area just to see that it was all fine. I let Claudia look at everything and go through her notes and checklists. Tomorrow, this place will have security, tools, and several people will be working here. Oh my god, working here for the coming weeks. I have just come for her to sign some papers, but somehow I didn't want her to get into a rush, so I told her I have time and we can discuss everything once she makes her checks. Having left the university, we found ourselves in the nearby park.
You know, I was really excited when they gave me this assignment,
Claudia said. But, as because of the tone with which she said it.
I didn't even have time to prepare for the restoration itself. And I really am a restorator in this. At least that's how I see myself. I'm part of the team, but so far it seems like all I do is paperwork, calling people and organizing.
Well, welcome to the world of managing projects, I said, smiling and inhaling the sweet smell of the summer air. Summer is not here yet, though. But at least, finally, I can go running in shorts. I don't need thermal underwear. Yes! It's basically warmer. Everything was so peaceful and I was in a good mood. I heard Claudia take a deep breath, trying to forget about all the things. Oh, by the way, I said because I just remembered. I was able to hear a bit of your lecture the other day. It was very interesting. In a way, I wanted to tell her that it felt very passionate, but somehow I felt that it wasn't an appropriate moment. Still, I want to tell her that I liked it.
Oh, thank you,
Claudia said, smiling. I did that moment realize that I liked that. I like how simply she answered. I liked that she didn't feel unduly, I'm guessing, unduly honored, or trying to downplay my compliment. She didn't blush, but at the same time I felt from her that she was flattered. All that in those two words.
Do you usually familiarize yourself with such things?
She asked suddenly as we were trying to find some shade. What do you mean?
Sorry. I meant paintings. But when you oversee other projects like this, the objects or material they contain.
Well, no, not really. I need to know about that paperwork and organization. I guess precisely the things you yourself would rather avoid. And we got into a conversation. I used the opportunity to go through my last papers with her, and with that my work for the day was done. I was packing up, had reluctantly because it felt really good to be outside on such a beautiful day.
I really like the Scaglietti,
Claudia said suddenly, completely out of the blue it seemed. It took me a few seconds to understand, to find myself. I put the paper aside and once again looked around the park and felt the light breeze. There was one painting drawn by a lesser-known artist. Scaglietti. The woman with the mirror? I don't know why I phrased it as a question.
Yeah, that one. What's wrong?
Claudia immediately sensed something in the way that I answered. It's nothing, just that... I assume that would be the one that appeals to women the least. The picture was of a naked woman.
Because it's a naked woman?
Well, yeah, but I guess I don't really know. I know about her and art and how the experts judge it.
No, you're right,
Claudia said. Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite true. There are many works of art which have intriguing artistic values and employ fascinating techniques. But there's also the other face of everything, and that is whether you like the painting. Whether you would want to look at it every day in your home.
Claudia paused for a second.
I don't like the painting because of how it looks, though. But neither do I like it because of artistic value.
I was captured by how Claudia explained everything. I wanted to ask her why. What is it she likes about the painting? I knew she was going to say it, but I wanted to know even sooner. Because it wasn't obvious what she would say. She didn't like the picture. She didn't like it because it would be of high artistic value either. So she liked it because of...
I like it because of its story.
Story?
How Scaglietti got the idea, why it was made, how it ended up there. The story.
Well, that's something I don't really know about the paintings. I read only the necessary information, the basic things. About the Scaglietti, I knew only that it was made to pay off the debt that the painter had. But, being here with Claudia, the park and the sun, I stopped. Tell me, please. I asked her. I didn't want to go home. I didn't want to go back to the university, and the truth was... definitely was. I only wanted to be in this park and talk to her.
I mean, she's cute.
And I wanted to know. So I asked. And Claudia, it was her. She brought it up, and she wanted to talk. And... seeing her not moving towards the exit of the park, but suddenly taking a path taking us back in the center of the park, I was happy to be here. With her. It was something different. It's been a while since I felt like this. At peace, happy, and yet not insecure or in doubt.
There are the facts and the stories,
Claudia said, smiling as we made our way and walked side by side. I think I'm saying her name each time differently. I thought about it all briefly and realized I wanted to hear. The stories or the facts? The stories, why not? I'd like to know the stories in that case. I said. And without any other reply, Claudia, whatever, started telling me the story in a calming voice. Almost like it was in tune with the nature around us.
Scaglietti's paintings is special because it is said that Scaglietti painted this picture without a model.
Nice.
He painted it hoping to make a painting that it will bring love to those who have it. It was the first one he drew for himself.
And did it bring him love?
No one knows, but shortly after finishing the painting, he met his future wife.
So it worked then?
It is just a story, but yes, I like to believe it did.
That's a nice story.
Well, Scaglietti later had to sell the picture to a merchant, since he was so short on money.
But it doesn't matter, right?
It doesn't?
Well, he had his wife, didn't he?
That's true, but wouldn't it better if I had the painting that brought them together?
Oh, but the painting didn't bring them together, right? I spotted the unlogical part. Somehow it reminded me of how she sounded at the lecture.
Yeah, you are right. Technically it was the painting, but it probably had sentimental value.
Still, does it matter?
I think it does. It's important to keep little symbols of love.
And with that, Claudia went silent. It was a bit uncomfortable, and I don't know myself how we got into such a conversation. So in an attempt to lighten the discussion, I changed the subject. We continued to talk about paintings and how the restoration job meant for Claudia that she would have to miss a few of her regular lessons and have someone else substitute. It seemed to be the end of the park visit, and we headed for the entrance. After saying goodbye, I went home. Act 2, the painting. Do you know about forgeries? I asked suddenly.
Forgeries?
Claudia seemed to be surprised that I asked. I did ask quite out of blue, but that was because I wanted to ask her about this for several days now. And I always forgot. Yeah, I've always wondered about forgeries, why people make them, and if you consider them artists. I mean, what if the forgery is better than the original, right? That would be nuts. Claudia was still, so it seemed looking to understand why I asked. I surprised you, didn't I? I said, smiling.
Yeah, you did.
She stopped, making effort to conceal it. We're taking a walk as every day now. I came by to make the routine check as the representative of the insurance company, as was stated in the contract. And Claudia used this to take a break and go for a walk with me, giving me details of the progress and what happened. We were usually done quickly, and the remaining break time we used to talk. Sometimes it was the park and sometimes we went along the coast. It always took a bit longer, but it seemed not to matter to anyone. So, do you get in contact with any forgeries? I asked again.
Well, I do. Sometimes I am hired as an expert.
And have you identified a forgery? I asked almost like a little boy. Such was my curiosity all of a sudden. And with that, Claudia told me about her involvement with detecting art forgeries. She had not yet seen one of the famous ones, being mostly asked to determine the authenticity of lesser value forgeries.
But they are actually more difficult to spot.
Why? I thought the lesser value ones would have been worked on by less experienced forgers. They don't bring that much money.
From my experience, it's the middle that's the most lucrative, or slightly below the middle of the value scale. There are fewer checks. Usually they will hire just a few art experts to confirm the authenticity. But they don't have the laboratory tools to make a good analysis.
So for example, that Scaglietti would that make a good object for a forgery? Claudia seemed to stop again, and take a deep breath and...
I suppose that would be a good target. The painting isn't all that valuable, and a form of analysis where one would really be sure costs a disappropriate amount of money compared to the price of the painting.
So that means that the payoff between what you could make selling the picture and the relative safety is the best balance.
Well, that depends. It's best if the forger can produce several paintings that use similar paint composition and canvases to remain economical. That, coupled with low detection rates can make them a living.
I understand. Then I had another question. And what about the question whether forgery is also art? What do you think of that? I asked.
For me it is not.
No.
No, are you surprised?
Well, a little. The way you talked about forgeries and everything.
But a forger will never have the original piece's heart. And I think when people forget that it's not just the painting and how it looks, it's what was put into that makes it art.
We continued to talk until we came back and parted ways. I couldn't help it. For the past days, the meetings between Claudia and me were something I looked forward to every day. In fact, I was happy to get up in the morning knowing that I'll be able to see her. And I was unhappy about the weekend when I had no reason to go to the university chapel where the restoration took place. Just go.
Mr. Carini?
Please, Domenico.
Domenico, I don't know how to say this, but...
Claudia said during our Monday walk. She looked to be in sort of stress.
I'm a bit... It's been on my mind ever since that one time when...
Claudia took a deep breath.
You know that my grandfather was in prison for art forgery, right?
This struck me like a lightning bolt. I had no idea. But even if he was, the name Ascari was so common, it could have been tens of thousands of people. I apologized and somehow, looking at Claudia, remembering what she said. As long as you didn't inherit your grandfather's forging skills, my company doesn't mind. I said to lighten the conversation.
No, I can't draw, much less paint. That's why I'm a professor, right?
Claudia tried to joke too. And
what?
So, what did your grandfather forge? Was it someone famous?
Well, not really. It was... Scaglietti.
And in that second, time has stopped. I couldn't believe what I just heard, but looking at it, I suppose the one feeling I had right now was I was suspicious. It was suspicious. It was interest. I'm not suspicious of her. I'm interested. That...
Yeah, he made a forgery of the work of Scaglietti.
Claudia looked almost guilty. But for me, it all made sense. Of course, she liked the paintings from Scaglietti when, most probably, she has seen them many times as a little girl when her grandfather was a forger. And then, I realized that it probably wasn't easy for her. I could imagine that many people knew. It's not a thing that one can keep secret, especially as she's also in the art world. And I guess this was the reason she told me so openly. Because she sensed I didn't know. I didn't really want to ask Claudia about this. I want to let her tell me more if she wants to. But it didn't matter anyway. She is not her grandfather. And her grandfather has obviously paid for the crime, being imprisoned. Act 3. The Forger.
Oh, today I am making a short day, so if you just wait a bit, I'll get my things,
Claudia said. I used the opportunity to check on how the progress is on the paintings, and it really went very well. The teams seemed to be working well together, and a few of the paintings were already done.
We can go.
Claudia came back, holding her equipment. Well, I don't want to keep you from your free time. Maybe I can go with you along the way, where you're going, I suggested as we went to pass the security guards. Could we please see the bag? Said one of her new personnel. And then... Actually, what is this? The guard opened a container and took out a rolled painted canvas.
That's a reference.
But it looked exactly like the Scaglietti painting. That's one of the paintings, Miss Ascari.
No, it isn't. This is just a forged one that I own. The original painting is there.
Claudia denied and pointed to the back of the room. A very uncomfortable situation followed. The Scaglietti painting was delivered today in the morning as yet another object to be restored. The paintings were being restored in groups, so once one was done, another one came in its place. This way, the galleries could keep them and only give them away for the shortest possible time. So today was the first day the painting was here. The security don't make checks when people walk in, knowing they always bring with them their bags. And usually they don't check the people they know on their way back either. Claudia was caught with wanting to take the Scaglietti with her by a random check.
But look here, the forgery is worked on the back. It's clear what it is. It's legally mine.
Claudia was showing a thick paintbrush diagonal line the back of the forged canvas as a proof. Seeing Claudia like that, I suddenly decided to react logically, to react instinctively. React instinctively! Sorry, but what exactly is the problem? I was trying to sound this comment reasonable. Where is it? Mrs. Ascari merely brought her painting as a reference, and it's obviously clearly marked. So I don't see what the problem is. You should always tell everyone beforehand, Mrs. Ascari. The security staff calmed down, and things started to get clarified slowly. Well, but you could have painted that line here when you were not observed. One of the colleagues said, seemingly as a joke, but was a valid doubt. Claudia could indeed have had the forgery with her this morning, exchange the paintings when unobserved, and paint the line over the original. Well, I smiled knowingly. 2 minutes I saw Miss Ascari paint that line myself yesterday. After our date. I lied, okay? Trying to seem very certain and casual, even smiling at the man as to get them to acknowledge that I have scored a date with Claudia.
Apologize. I should have said I'll bring it.
Claudia said suddenly, putting her hand on my shoulder softly as to confirm my lie. My head was spinning. What was I doing?
Let's do it this way. I'll keep the forgery here, and we can have an expert perform checks on the original to validate its authenticity. Authenticity. Okay, if this is needed. So there are no doubts, and you can then return the forgery to me. It's grandfather's work, so I'd like to have it back.
Well, and I can also see if the insurance policy can cover the costs. Let's keep calm and not make this bigger than it is. I smiled as to reassure everyone. The people were visibly more comfortable now.
I'm sorry, and we should report this, just to be sure.
Claudia apologized quietly, and once again, as if acknowledging the mistake. I couldn't believe what was happening, but it all seemed logical. There was no reason to think that Claudia would steal a forgery and replace it with an original, because there was every reason to suggest the forgery was always in her possession. Act 4. The Scaglietti. A brief investigation clarified the incident. The painting with the marking was indeed the forgery, just as Claudia said. It meant that Claudia was trying to leave with the marked forgery, which belonged to her, which meant she had done nothing wrong except not telling the security. My story helped remove any other doubts. Because there were accusations of that the gallery, which wanted the Scaglietti restored, has actually had the fake. Even for Claudia, had the forgery listed in her inheritance, the gallery which owned the painting wasn't aware that was a forgery of it, since the particular forgery was never attempted to be sold by her grandfather. So it could be that the picture in the gallery was indeed a forged painting, but could never be identified as one, and Claudia had the original all along. And when she got the chance with the restoration, she switched the forgery for the original to avoid getting in trouble. But my testimony where I said that I saw Claudia make it, and the fact that the picture that didn't have the line was found to be a genuine Scaglietti, meant that no matter what, the truth. The gallery had the original, and Claudia had the forgery. The incident never escalated beyond project supervision level. Claudia continued with the restoration of the pictures and brought it all to a successful conclusion. My company was also happy. A few weeks passed. I never asked you this directly, but I said to Claudia, perhaps you can tell me about the Scaglietti. It was true. After I lied to help her situation, I never brought up the subject. I want to give Claudia the time. I just hoped it wasn't something serious. I hope she wasn't involved in something bad. I didn't want to have any troubles with the authorities.
It was.
Claudia started speaking. We were going out for a week now, because after the project was over, our walks in the park were no more. I asked her, she said yes, and I didn't want her to feel she would need to say yes because I helped her. I thought it wasn't because of that, but still, it would be reassuring to just hear it being said in words.
There is another forgery.
And in that second I froze. I felt the blood rush into my head. I
don't understand the story of the painting. It's not true. You mean the one with the merchant? Yeah, well, it's the official one, but now I have proof that it's not true.
I didn't understand.
Scaglietti painted a woman for that merchant. The woman was his servant, and the merchant tried to show her he loves her, and had the best painter in the town, Scaglietti, paint her. But the woman and the Scaglietti fell in love. The picture became a symbol of their finding one another. Later the servant woman wanted to leave the merchant and live with Scaglietti. But the merchant had the painting, and the couple wanted to keep it, because it brought them together. It was the painting's heart. And so they devised a plan. When the merchant was out for a few weeks, the servant took the picture and brought it to Scaglietti, who painted a picture exactly like the one they gave the merchant. Then they exchanged the original Scaglietti for the duplicate Scaglietti, and ever since then the duplicate was always considered to be the original, because no one even knew about the existence of a duplicate. My grandfather then got his hands on the true original. This got him interested, and he went to the gallery with most of the Scaglietti's works, and through all the pictures he left their hearts, something he couldn't specify, but he just knew. Then, coming to the picture which was exactly like the one he had at home, he didn't feel anything. The picture didn't have the heart. It was because the only one he had at home was the true original. The one in the museum was a duplicate, made by Scaglietti himself, but still not the original. And was while examining the picture, refusing to acknowledge it as a work of art. When he met my grandmother, who worked at the gallery, and got into a conversation with him about why he seemed to be so upset about it. He then showed her the true picture, and with the secret began the relationship. The picture once again brought two people together. Then my grandfather made that unfortunate choice and turned his art obsession into forgery. Among others, he also made a forgery of the original painting. And when they caught him, my father and subsequently I officially inherited the forged Scaglietti which my grandfather made. But then somehow the original painting seemed to disappear. Grandfather has only told me the story once, and he was very secretive about it. All I remembered was that he told me to look beneath the surface. But there was nothing in the basement of his old house, and nothing in our own house either. And then, with the restoration project here, I went to the gallery, and there I felt it, the heart of the picture. It wasn't the duplicate. Somehow, it wasn't as strong as I felt it from the other pictures, but it was there. And then I started to suspect. And that suspicion was confirmed when we got the painting for restoration. When I took it out of frame, there was a second painting underneath. The true original was hidden under the duplicate.
That means you never took your forgery to work that day.
No, I came empty-handed. As soon as I found the original underneath the duplicate, I made that paintbrush marking on the original. The painting which I said was the fake during the incident was in fact the original.
And no one would make tests on the fake, they would just test the duplicate and it would always come out as a genuine Scaglietti.
Precisely, at least I hope so. I didn't count with being caught.
I stopped for a moment. So, you don't think that the picture that originally has some mystical effect on people falling in love?
I do. That's why I took it. And you? Do you also believe it?
I actually do too, yeah. I smiled. I wasn't sure I did, but that unexplainable state of mind that led me to blindly lie for Claudia. It was nice to have it explained like this.
You see, technically I have what belongs to me. I have the forgery, and I have the first original. And both of them are legally mine.
Well, not really. The original, you'd have a hard time proving ownership, but I suppose that's why you went the, shall we say, more effective way. Claudia smiled. I took a deep breath.
I'm glad that I told you. Thank you for asking. I'm glad I know. Thank you for being honest.
That's probably what he said. Anyway, but no more secret operations like this, alright?
Promise.
And with that, Claudia took my hand.
So, what do we do next?
She asked. Her hair was so beautiful.
Her voice was calming, and her face was feverish.
Let's go home.
The end.
That was the Scaglietti. Hope you enjoyed. And we might be moving to the next game tomorrow. For now. That's it. Hope to see you in the next one. Have a wonderful day. Also, Enigma still going around, so check out this one. Very good game. Bye bye.